And if you want to find more details of this, how also the government is really coming hard on these rogue teachers and parents, you have all the full details of this on the front page of a Daily Nation today, and well fleshed out for you on page 2, where on security, police officers and other security personnel will be deployed all the way from the exam council headquarters to the counties and classrooms. Also on marking, the examiner will not mark any answer papers that show cheating occurred, meaning students will meet their aggregated results. Then on arrest, teachers who abet cheating will be immediately arrested and charged, while the use of mobile phones will be banned in school or in schools. And then we have lastly as well, here on the licensing, the National Examination Council will cancel the licenses of exam centers where cheating will be confirmed and also prosecute officials. This story, you can find it in the Daily Nation today. Rogue teachers and parents are already fundraising, it says, to buy good scores. Reveals NEC even as it talks tough about protecting integrity of tests. And this really goes to show where we as a country we've come to as far as, you know, the nobility of character is concerned, where we have our parents also colluding with teachers to make sure that their children are cheating. So when it comes to morality, where do we stand as a country? And have we lost the conscience as a nation when it comes to, of course, having a conscience that is sensitive? Maybe we can hear from our panelists a bit before we move further on this as well. Just to tell us, because I know Professor Noami Dambe is the Vice Chancellor of KCA University. He has been a teacher for quite a while. And if parents are colluding with teachers to make sure that their children are passing exams, it really marks or besmirks, and really epitomizes where we as a country, as far as success is concerned, that we'll use whatever means to make sure that our children are succeeding. Have we lost it? Have we lost the plot? Despite the fact that we know reforms that were undertaken by the former Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Education then, that is Matiang'i, over exam cheating.
Debarl, I spent, I think, 1 or 2 weeks without sleeping, preparing for O-level exams in this country. And together with my cousins, friends, and all those people. And those were the times that education means something. And the people who passed really passed. And professors and distinguished lecturers were rewarded handsomely and respected in our society. There is no country in this world that has developed without education. And those people who are thinking about cutting the process in order to get to the quick answer they're looking for are not helping themselves, whether they are crooks that are selling peppers or parents who are colluding to do that kind of thing. They're not helping themselves and they're not helping this country. I stand in my university that any compromise, anybody who cheat on the exams is suspended. It doesn't matter where they come from, and we cannot compromise it, whether it is a faculty member who colluded with the student or students who does that. They are suspended and in some cases expelled out of the university. And we need to do that. We need to take the high ground. We need to look at the issue of morality in our society, which lead to the level of corruption that we have. And we cannot expect the school to be better if we, the parents, are not following and taking this high level of commitment to make this country a better place.
So it seems lying has become a virtue, that we can have parents, lying through their teeth in collusion with the teachers for their students or their pupils to really pass exams. So it's become the norm for this country, Rungo Hyoto.
I think I'm with the Ministry of Education on this one, that the tough measures that are being proposed really need to be effected. And I think it's a great thing that they have come out very clearly to indicate to the country that they will not tolerate neither cheating teachers and administrators, but also that the children will risk having their scores removed. So I think on this one, I'm completely with the Ministry of Education.
Thank you. Lucy?
I am more interested in what the motivation of the parents is. The motivation of the teachers is obvious. And of course, I, at this point, refuse to hold the children accountable because they're adults in the room. Corruption is an antisocial behavior. It is a learned behavior. And again, we can't look at the, cheating in schools again as an independent issue. It is as well networked. Parents are motivated by the fact that they feel even if they do things in the right way, there will not be a just outcome for their children. And in their minds, they rationalize their actions in that way. So I'm not saying it's good or bad. Me, I'm not going to be the judge of that. Mine is to understand what the motivation is and to see why logic continuously eludes parents over the years, because we know that if you model corruption to your children, even if you don't call it corruption, they're probably calling it creativity or initiative. If you model it to your children, then you raise children who will have the same initiative, which essentially is corruption. So I think we should just be able to understand that we have to understand it from like a social issue and not feel as though if people stick to the right way, they will be punished for it. But if they take a shortcut, then they succeed. Maybe we need to start redefining what success is and the road to get there.
Dr. Mustafa, you think so?
Yeah, Debarl, when I started to teach at the university recently, I discovered that there's a lot of teaching even at the university. Now, this calls for a very basic question. What is it that the job market out there is looking for? Is it grades, or is it a well-cooked, so to speak, individual who can help this country, this world, being learned? And you realize that even as we carry out job interviews to hire people, most of the time we come across and tragically so, functionally illiterate graduates. Yeah. And when you give this person, and I've interviewed so many, a very basic task to write a 2-pager, and a university graduate, and you start wondering, where did this student learn? Where did he or she come from? It happens, Debarl, and this again calls to question the kind of value system that we do have in our, not just the education system, but across all sectors in this country. And so you see, for example, in the Department of Medicine at the University of Nairobi, that you have so many students admitted there, but up to 30–40% do not actually proceed to year 2 or year 3 because they are unable to take the rather difficult challenge of going through the courses that one is supposed to before one becomes a medical doctor. And so if one is not caught class 8 or form 4, definitely there must be other ways to actually catch this thief. It is thievery at the university by giving them entry exams and all that. Debarl, you can imagine that you have a medical doctor who cannot who didn't even pass or copied in chemistry, in human anatomy, in sciences, and working at the Kenyatta National Hospital or Aga Khan Hospital, operating on a sick person. And no wonder we have people's skulls being opened at Kenyatta National Hospital by people supposedly calling themselves doctors, while in actual sense they are quacks.
Interesting, and of course this is a collusion not only just from the parents and the teachers. We have even from the university and the lecturers as well who collude to do this. They're given money, for you to be given, a grade. Which really questions when it comes to the labor market, because people are, as Mustafa is raising this particular pertinent issues about the quality of the graduates that we have in the market who do not even have the intellectual vigor in whatever constituents or whatever sector they're actually employed in, and people are questioning even just writing a very basic business letter. It's a problem. Could it be also the invasion of social media? And if parents are actually supporting this, then what sort of people are we producing for this society? And these are the same people that will end up also being our legislators as well.
Well, as you say, building on what Mustafa said, if you have been in the recruitment market and interviewed, first of all, and if talking to the young people, I would say, please don't front your certificate, because an employer is not looking for your certificate. I normally, when I ask people, why have you chosen to come to this? I've got first class or second class, I've got a PA, I've got a master's. That's not what the employer is looking. The employer is looking for what you add to their business. What are you going to add to the organization to take it to a higher level of its objective? And that goes to the question you raise. Are we building skills or we are producing certificates? And that is because the society has, when you have lost your moral fabric, this is what happens. You destroy your education, you destroy the country.
Yeah.
And that also reflects in the society now we live in, because we glorified money, we glorified corruption, and it is permitted. Yesterday I met a professor, and I was asking the professor, I saw so many universities mushrooming all over. You saw a building in town, on top of it is a university. What has happened? They said, no, look, with now this new cramp down on cheating, those people getting C+ are very few, so perhaps this is sanity now starting to reduce. We're reducing now the number of people going to university. And I think this is, as Irungu said, let's now support this process so that we can eliminate this kind of, really it is moral degradation of the society.
And I think also there was a directive from the president, moving forward, we should not have any new universities, because they are mushrooming as kiosks, every corner, and it becomes sort of a tribal issue. That now if we are from a particular county, then we need to have a university from our own county, right? So we have Bomet County University, we'll have Kakamega University. So it became something that is really out of control. But now the quality of education that is being churned out from there is diametrically different from what also the labor market is expecting.
Debarl, we must add this to this debate. I think Lucy talked about this, children and adults. And children just mimic what adults do.
Yes.
If in our parliament here, we have folks who have forged degree certificates, master certificates, and by the way, they're still in office. That, there's this investigations that is going on. First of all, they should step aside and let these investigations proceed. And we have very senior members of our community, including governors, Debarl, who have questionable certificates, and yet they're not even supposed to have those certificates, and they were cleared supposedly by the agencies that are supposed to clear them to run for this office. And children are watching, they are looking at this, and they say, if Governor so-and-so, a member of parliament so-and-so, Senator so-and-so can forge a certificate in order to get a job, why can't I cheat at class 8 or form 4?
Yeah, good question. Let's say from Noami Damba, and I know Noami Damba also, I don't know what committee you're chairing right now, because Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed assigned you a task.
I chaired a number of committees, but Debarl, let me...
I want to know that is related to our topic this morning. As
it is. In 2012, I proposed a new system for Kenya, which was to get rid of what we will call JAB, bury it, and create an innovative system which allow parents and students to make choices. Choice what university they want to go to, and choice what subject they want to study, and that include public and private university. It took serious 3 years of debate, and about 3 years ago, President Kenyatta called us all to the State House and say implement it. This idea makes sense. Now, what is happening right now, and this go to the heart of the corruption issues we are talking about. All these universities that used to have SACs on top of the bar and all called branch campus are losing out because students are now voting with their feet. Most of these universities are losing students, and then they're now facing some really serious financial crisis because they hire folks based on the number of students instead of looking at innovative ways of managing campus and everything. And therefore, this also is catching up with those people who have cheated, as the better universities are gaining more students and the worst ones are now suffering, and the consequences is that some of these universities will close and then will become much better in terms of serious competition, quality, and as a country will benefit. That's what's going on.
Do you think in any way also, as we're just a bit on this, the new curricula will dramatically change the face of education in this country, where we place so much premium on degrees that if you don't really have a degree, then you don't really make the grade, and you can't really get into the labor market as well. But right now we can see much premium is being placed on talent. And at the end of the day, and if we just make a trajectory and we look at our crystal ball, I think in the next 20 years, many will be having degrees, many will be having PhDs, and the employer will be looking for that extra factor, which might be your talent. Is that where we're headed to?
Yes.
With
a number of organizations, we began to look very closely at the new curriculum, particularly in the context of the emphasis now on integrity. And this is maybe the other part of the conversation, is that there is now a requirement that all schools have integrity clubs, where the issues of ethics, the issues of service, the issues of integrity can now be discussed and explored with students. And our initial sense is that those clubs, first of all, are a great idea, but they're under-resourced. And in many cases, the schools are told, set up a club, but there are no resources for them to either download or a curriculum within which to pursue that. And I think that's where the investment should be going forward. And I think for organizations that believe in human rights and believe in transparency and anti-corruption work, they really need to be supporting the schools at the school unit level to be able to generate those conversations, because that's what's going to create the levels of integrity and competence alongside the life skills that will produce a different country.
Right. Welcome back. You're watching Standing on Gadi here on AM Live, and we continue with the conversation that we're having this morning. And we're looking at a raft of issues as well. And right now we're just looking at what is happening, especially with exams, as our students and pupils are, of course, preparing for the exams. Issues of cheating also is coming to the fore. And before we took a short break, we were just looking at the sort of students that we, or the graduates that we are producing for the labor market, which many from the labor market are complaining are not really cut out for what they have in the market. So they are really not meeting the threshold as far as the skill set is concerned. And just to maybe wind up on this briefly, because we had a very interesting also headline in the Daily Nation yesterday. And maybe we could just pick it up if on the touchscreen. This is what was there yesterday, just to looking at the story below it. And it says that got a D+ in KCAC, now you can join a teacher's college. And it begs the question, if a D+ is the threshold that we have for our teachers, what then do we expect as far as these teaching colleges are concerned? Are we making this particular profession very attractive? If this will be the benchmark? Any of you?
I mean, of course, when we talk about a D+, we are saying that we are giving it a very low academic entry position. But I'll also say that being a teacher has a lot more to do with, you know, character, grace, and wisdom than the grades. I'm not saying the grades are not important. We were just talking about what teachers go through. But
let's center on the grades instead of the character, which I know character is very key. But of course, if that will be the threshold, then what, Lucy?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a very low academic entry point expectation. I don't dispute it. And so, you know, I'm thinking of it the same way, you know, soldiers are recruited. We said if you have a D+, you become a soldier. But then again, you don't have to be smart to, like, you know, make decisions to fire a weapon. You just need to be able to know how to follow instructions. But teachers are in a different category altogether. Because they build the mind, they build the emotion, they build the structure.
Yeah, we're talking about cognitive processes. We have a very young, supple mind that needs to be, you know, trained, needs to be, you know, given good, good pathways on how to, you know, improve on their skills and identify talents within, you know, the students. So if we have the threshold low, then do we expect much from them?
But if I was a young parent now, I would hesitate to take my child to public school or any school and maybe do homeschooling. The problem is, how do you earn your living and then you are homeschooling? Because if you go to the facilities kids are going through, you go through the teachers that are teaching them. First of all, if you're not going to pay teachers well, that's why it is left to those that cannot achieve for higher you know, skills.
Yes.
So that you give it those that cannot get other jobs. If we change our system and say, let's pay teachers like any other profession, then you will not be talking of D+ going there, and you will start to see the value system changing. But also look at the education system. What are we emphasizing? We are emphasizing getting people through the mill, through the process, but not developing them to have skills, to be good citizens, and be patriotic, you know, citizens.
Debarl, there are two aspects to this. We have a very, very intense debate right now between what we call technical schools, which are guided by Tibet, and then the higher education. And here's what I want to say. The child born in Pokot who goes to school sitting on a stone is not the same child who sit in the most expensive private university, private school in Nairobi. Okay, they have a different environment. Now, that does not stop this child who sit in Pokot, given the same environment, and I will explain that, given the same environment to excel. And why I'm saying that is the students who live here and go to America or go to Europe, and then they find themselves in the same class and the same environment. And some come from very poor schools in Africa and end up excelling on top of their class and become some of the best. So we need to be not only condemn the D- and this D+, but we don't need to associate them with the entry point for our teachers. Okay, that's where the mistake is, which say, or policemen. If you're a policeman, you have to have, you get a D-, okay. We need to talk about what is it we are going to do with the D+ to make them better, as opposed to say, now you are all failures, okay, we forget you. And I'm one of those people who argue very strongly that there has to be a free and fair access point from a Tibet environment into higher education.